Hello everyone. Very good morning to all. Myself Arnab Shaha. I'm from Tripura state and my friend Sri Vikas CH from NF Railway. Welcome you all the guests, panelists, attendees and viewers for the second phase of the webinar Better World Framework, which is organized for 17th to 20th August 2020. Let's start our day with the Bharat Scouts and Guide prayer.
दया कर दान भक्ति का हमें परमात्मा देना दया करना हमारी आत्मा में शुद्धता देना हमारे ध्यान में आओ प्रभु आँखों में बस जाओ अंधेरे दिल में आकर के परम ज्योति जगा देना बहादो प्रेम की गंगा दिलों में प्रेम का सागर हमें आपस में मिलजुल कर प्रभु रहना सिखा देना हमारा कर्म हो सेवा हमारा धर्म हो सेवा सदा ईमान हो सेवा वो सेवक चर बना देना वतन के वास्ते जीना वतन के वास्ते मरना वतन पर जान फिदा करना प्रभु हमको सिखा देना दया कर दान भक्ति का हमें परमात्मा देना दया करना हमारी आत्मा में शुद्धता देना
Thank you everyone. We extend our welcome to all the viewers in official YouTube channel of Bharat Scouts and Guide and request you to invite at least 5 members to join the webinar through YouTube. Please be active with us. Use the question and answer button and chat box of YouTube of the webinar and put your questions in the YouTube live chat. Our team members will collect it and share with the speakers. Only one delegate from each state are present here as attendees, and all the other members are participating from YouTube channel. Now, I request to our director, sir, BSD, Sri Rajkumar Kaushik, sir, to welcome our chief guest and guest speakers and other dignitaries to the webinar.
Thank you, Arnab. Respected Khali Saab, our Additional Chief National Commissioner, Bharat Scouts and Guides, Mr. Peter, member of the World Scout Committee, and today expertise for session, and Ms. Lau and Ms. Fidha, and our Deputy International Commissioner, Mr. Madhu Aula. On the behalf of Bharat Scouts and Guides, I welcome you all in this webinar, and really I'm very happy to introduce our Mr. Hame Khalid, because being a additional Chief National Commissioner, it will be his first webinar to attend. So I congratulate also Khali Sahab on the behalf of all the BSG NHQ staff as well as BSG India, and we are really very happy that Mr. Peter is with us. He is expert, and definitely we are going to utilize his expertise with our youth, and our youth will be highly motivated with your sessions. And Miss Lau, who is also expert in Scout Go Solar, so we will be good opportunity to have you in our webinar, madam. And Sithya, who is always with us, always. Definitely, Sithya present will also give a boost to our youth, because they are mostly daily you are coming to our webinar. So our youth are now well versed with you. So we welcome you also. And I would like to welcome all the staff who are working for this webinar, including our regional assistant director and the staff, and Mr. Amar B. Chetri, who is in charge of this project. Then welcome to all the participants who are on this webinar, or in YouTube or on Facebook, who are watching this webinar from the 5th of August date. So welcome to all of you once again. And for the information of Mr. Peter and Miss Law, sir, Bharat is organizing the virtual programs for the youth in all the respect. Even the vaccine initiative also we have now started taking a separate webinar for it. And now the sustainable development goals website page also is ready, so that our youth will go to the website and they can see it, and they can start the working on SDG. Already they are working in different goals. And not only that, the youth program, competition on different subjects, and the now Scout Guide progress advancement. Also now we are working on it, and definitely very soon we are going to launch a special website with the help of APR. And now the training course also for the adults, so that our membership growth will not have effect of this pandemic 19, COVID-19. We are going to develop a special website. One website we have already developed in regard to the beginner course. That course is only for 4 hours. Any youth who are above than 18 years of age can attend that course online, and the online digital certificate will be issued. And after that course, he is authorized to start a new unit. So our membership is now, because of that course, is going to increase day by day. And we are expecting a good increase this year. And we hope that the target, even the dream of our Body Scout Committee as well as the Secretary General will come to true in time. Then in regard to the trainer fees concerned, now we have already started that refresher course in your language or
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your warm wishes. Now, it's time to start our today's session. Here, I request to our Deputy Director, Boys Program, Sri Amar B. Chetri, sir, for brief information about the today's webinar and start today's session. Sir.
Thank you, Arnab. Very good morning to all. It's a proud privilege to welcome our Honorable Sri Hame Khalid sir, Additional Chief National Commissioner, Ms. Cynthia Marcoj, Senior Manager, Educational Initiative and Messenger of Peace, Mr. Peter Blaj, Member, World Scout Committee, Wisdom, Ms. Lau from Scout Association of Malaysia, our Honorable Deputy International Commissioner Scout, Mr. Madhusudan Avala, respected Director, Bharat Scouts and Guides, Sri Rajkumar Kaushik ji, respected Sri Krishna Jami ji, Executive Director, Bharat Scouts and Guides, and all the colleagues of the Bharat Scouts and Guides. our delegates as well as the participants of this webinar. First of all, the Messenger of Peace Team India would like to congratulate Honorable Mr. Hame for being appointed as the additional Chief National Commissioner of the Bharat Scouts and Guides. So I take this privilege to welcome on behalf of all the Messengers of Peace Team India. We welcome you, sir. And this is the right platform to inform our Honorable Additional Chief National Commissioner that this is for the first time in the history of the Bharat Scouts and Guides that we have organized a webinar on Better World Framework, the World Scout Program. Sir, total 2,788 young people as well as the adults of the country has registered for this webinar from 52 state associations out of 53 states. And this turns a milestone in the World Scouts program initiative by the Bharat Scouts and Guides. We have nominated one each delegates in the webinar from each state association, and the rest are viewing this webinar from the BSG YouTube channel as informed. So total 27 messengers of peace, state coordinator, as well as the local coordinators were working day and night for a month or more to make this webinar a grand success under the able leadership and guidelines of our Deputy International Commissioner Scout. Sir, this webinar was organized to engage our young people digitally in this crucial period of novel COVID pandemic in the country. And the webinar title was Better World Framework, which includes all the World Scout initiative of the WOJM. The purpose is to impart knowledge about World Scout program. We have got wholehearted support from the WOJM Asia Pacific Support Center as well as Global Support Center. You can see Miss Cynthia. This is the third day. She is regularly attending our webinar and guiding us. The Regional Director of Asia Pacific Regional Support Center has inaugurated this webinar, and the experts from the APR has taken different important sessions every day. Today is the 7th day of the webinar. The first phase of the webinar was organized from 5th to 8th August, and the second phase of the webinar is organized from 17th, and it will conclude tomorrow, 28th. We have covered Messengers of Peace, Scouts Go Solar, Scouts Go Solar will be continued today. Scouts of the World Award, Champion for Nature Challenge, Scouts for SDG, Dialogue for Peace, Art Tribe, Patra Manito, Scout Challenge, and today Mr. Peter Blanche will deliver his expertise on diversity and inclusion, and Miss Lau will deliver her expertise in Scouts Go Solar, which will be guided by Madam Cynthia in Scout Go Solar. Tomorrow we'll be having experts from Asia Pacific Regional Support Center, Miss Luge and Kenny, with the storytelling. And we will conclude the closing of this webinar tomorrow. We have invited the Secretary General of World Organization of the Scout Movement to be the chief guest in the closing ceremony. This is a wonderful initiative, and all the office bearers of the Bharat Scouts and Guides regularly bless this webinar. And today we are fortunate to have your good self here, and definitely your presence boosted the morale of this webinar. And we expect your wholehearted support to organize World Scouts program in the Bharat Scouts and Guides. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, we request our chief guest of the today's program, M.A. Khalid sir, to bless all of us. Here, he is a man of the example for all of us, a cub, a scout, a rover, and a leader. He supports Bharat Scouts and Guides with different capacities. He is one of the leaders of World Scout movement, providing his best to this noble movement. We are proud of you, sir. Khalid sir rendered service to government of Karnataka as a Karnataka administrative officer, and he is also a part of our Bharat Scouts and Guide as a additional Chief National Commissioner and State Commissioner of Karnataka State. Sir, we welcome you, sir. Now, the webinar is yours, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arnab. Brother Scouts and Sister Guides. More than blessing, I am part of the Scout movement. I welcome all of you to the webinar on Better Scout, Better World frame. This pandemic, as we all know, has in a way devastated the world. But Scouts are Scouts, and we have turned the dark clouds of Corona into a silver lining. To keep engaged the young people, we have entered the foray of technology, and through digital, we have come face to face to start this webinar, imparting knowledge, covering different topics like Messenger of Peace, initiatives, Scout of the World Award, Nature Challenge, Scouts Go Solar, Dialogues for Peace, Diversity and Inclusion, which are very, very important topics for the Scouting world. While talking of Messenger's Peace, I'm a little bit nostalgic because I was one of the few handful who went along with the King of Sweden to Saudi Arabia to meet the King of Saudi. And the King of Saudi was gracious enough to give us $35 million, which we have been using very purposefully, diligently, and in a very meaningful manner. In a way, we should be thankful to this pandemic. Because of this pandemic, we have been able to hear the galaxy of the Scouting leaders. You have had the opportunity of hearing JR, our regional director, Prasanna, Sid, Luz, you will be hearing, our very own Madhusudan. And then we have Cynthia from the World Scout Bureau. We are having Lau from the PPM, who is a very trained, who was the former Assistant National Chief Commissioner, and who has been involved both at national and APR level as a resource person for CLT courses. The icing on the cake today is my very, very good friend, Peter Blanche. We are having the privilege of hearing him. Peter Blanche, member of the World Scout Committee, is a very interesting and renowned speaker who can speak any topic under the sun on Scouting. The beauty of him is that he keeps the audience in rapt attention by his movements, by his body language, by his delivery of whatever he says. Sorry, Peter may not be here for long to hear it, because at 10:30, in another 15 minutes, I have another appointment with the government with some law and order issue. So I'll be leaving. But anyhow, I'm sure your talk on your session on diversity and inclusion will be an excellent one, and all those who hear from you and love will go richer in knowledge. I wish this webinar all the very best. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your motivational speech. Now, I request to our resource speaker, Mr. Peter, World Member of World Scout Committee, to deliver the session on diversity and inclusion. We welcome you, sir.
Good morning and welcome, brothers and sisters. To my dear friend, Khalid, thank you very much for your wonderful introduction. I hope, sir, that I can do it justice. Distinguished guests, brother and sister scouts and guides, I'm going to go straight into my screen. So I'm going to share my screen. I trust you can all see it, because we are going to be looking at diversity and inclusion in Scouting. We're going to talk in the next 45 minutes about what's diversity and inclusion, why it's important for Scouts and Guides. We're going to share some resources. We're going to do some activities, and then I want you to set a personal challenge. Firstly, if we're going to talk about diversity and inclusion, we need to think about ourselves. So I want you to think about your own identity. What makes you a person? And to assist, I thought I'd share with you what is identity. And identity are the ideas, the beliefs, the qualities, and the expressions that make us who we are, that make us different from other people. And this perception that we have is modeled with others and within how we live our life at a particular time. Now, you may see me looking there and think, Peter is very, very handsome. I'm sitting right at the end in case my descriptions aren't satisfactory to you. But I'm going to help you think about your identity by sharing a little bit about mine. So what is my identity? Firstly, I'm a man. I'm a man who was a school teacher and who was a school principal and a school inspector. So I've got about 5 different parts of my identity now. Another part is that I'm a scout. I've always been a scout since I was 8, and that I'm a scout leader. And another part is that I love reading. I love reading, and I love reading with a glass of a lovely drink. And as well as that, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and especially I love being a granddad. So I've shared with you at least 10 parts of my identity. In front of you is an identity star. Can you share with yourself, can you identify 6 different pieces that make up your identity, that makes you different and makes you unique? And it would be great if any of you would like to share that on the chat line. So your task, share 6 things that make you yourself. What are the things that really, really make you yourself, that give you a purpose and make you different to other people? How are we going? I'm seeing some people are able to post that on their chats. Once you've got those things, I think that it's very important that you consider those, because what we're going to do now is that we're going to think about what makes diversity. What is diversity? Because what we've already discovered are some of the things that are important to us. Pardon me. So what's diversity? Diversity is about each of us being different and being unique. And you've already discovered that because you've come up with at least 6 different things that make you you. Diversity is about respecting individual differences. And as Scouts, we must strongly oppose any form of prejudice or discrimination where we think we or our values are more important than someone else. So can you come up now with a couple of words that mean diversity for you? What does diversity mean? That's good. Now I'm going to challenge you to think about inclusion. Can you think, whilst we are very diverse and we have things that make us different, what in fact is inclusion meaning? What does inclusion mean? So can you select 3 words that you want to use to describe inclusion? And maybe you'd like to share those on the chat line too. Everyone got 3 words? Now what we're going to do is have a look at what the statement of inclusion is in Scouting. Inclusion implies valuing diversity, celebrating the richness that it brings. And I know you in Bharat Scouts and Guides do that very, very well, because I have seen you doing that. Inclusion means giving equal access to all and opportunities, and making sure that our programs and the methods that we're using are inclusive by design, so that everyone can appreciate and get the best that Scouting can possibly offer. Now, can you remember your 3 words for inclusion? Can you see them up on the board? Because the list that we've got there is a list that was generated at the Rio Forum last year, where scouts and professionals from all over the world, from 100 countries, shared what they thought inclusion meant to them. It's having rights, it's expressing one, being able to be open, having essential dialogue, being willing to accept others. And these are all very, very important aspects. Now, within Scouting, we've got a target at the world's level that every national scout organisation that Bharat Scouts and Guides have agreed to, that says Scouting should reflect the communities in which it exists, and that we should actively work to welcome all individuals into our groups without distinction. So what I'm going to ask you to think about, have a think about where you're operating now, in your schools, in your local groups, and does the membership of your Scout or Guide unit depict the membership of your school or the membership of your local community? Because when we can do that, we know that we're truly becoming inclusive. And it says the important thing, particularly if you're involved at the district level, that it shouldn't only be reflected in our members, but it should be reflected in the different methods that we use and also the programs. So we've got to have diversity and inclusion in our membership. We should be trying it with our methods and also with the different programs that we're using. Now, how well do you think you're going? Because it's something that we've all got to work on. And as we work 57 million Scouts towards Vision 2023, we need to remember that diversity and inclusion is one of the main areas that we're focusing on. And that's part of the Reaching Out to All program that we've talked about. Now, to assist in that work, we've got a number of different resources. And the first resource is the Diversity and Inclusion in Scouting. And it's a position paper. And it talks about the importance of recognising and valuing what exists in each local community. That Scouting has got to exist to value the diversity of the communities in which it operates. And it's got to maximise the potential of all people, both young people and adults, by giving them greater and better learning opportunities. And this document also assists as a reference point for National Scout organisations, but not only for National Scout organisations, also for you in your districts and in your groups, to ensure that you've got policies and practices and what you're doing is truly supporting all young people. And that it's saying that we should share this information, not only just within our Scout groups, but also within the schools and the communities where we're actually operating. Now, you might think, how can we do that? How can 57 million people in 171 countries of the world do it? Well, the reality is we've got to do it because Scouting is aligned with human rights. And we remind everyone about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights from 1947, older than probably any of us here. And it sets out the basic human rights that need to be protected. And in 1977, and since then, Scouting has continued to reaffirm its commitment to valuing the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And it's on that basis that we can all be influenced. And we can see below the different times, at least 6 different times since 1977, when the World Scout Conferences, where all the member countries reconsidered the importance of human rights in what we're doing in Scouting. So what I'd like you to do now is to think about the different target groups that are in your community. And firstly, let's think about them, and then let's see how well Scouting and guiding is accommodating those. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think about the different target groups that could be in your area. You might have people who are very rich, people who are very poor, you might have migrants, you might have people that have transferred in. You might like to share those. Okay, what I'm going to do now, and I'm sorry that we don't have the opportunity to have greater dialogue, is share with you what some of those groups are. So we know that there's differences based around gender. We have boys, we have girls, we have minority groups and very vulnerable groups, and that will change from state to state and country to country. We have migrants, we have refugees, we have different religious groups, we have different cultures, we have people with different sexual orientation, we have people who are rich and people who are poor, we have people who have special abilities and people with disabilities, and that we also have different ethnicities within our Scouting program. Now, when we look at that, and that's a United Nations group, it reminds us of how diverse and how wonderful mankind is, how wonderful humankind is to think that we've got such riches. Now, the other thing that it's really important to remind us when we're talking about diversity inclusion is that whilst it's based on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it's really important that we live within the laws of the land. It's really important that we live within the laws of the land. And in some cultures, for example, recognizing different sexual orientation is not acceptable. So whilst it's acceptable in some countries, it's not in others. And what's very important is that when you're considering this list, you consider what is acceptable within the laws of your land, and particularly within your states and within your country. So as you can see, we've got lots and lots of different groups. Now, I want you to think of a number between 1 and 4. Have you got a number between 1 and 4? I want you to put up those numbers of fingers, and now I'm going to give you an activity. Based on the number that you put up, I want you to do that activity. So if you put up 1 finger, I want you to describe when you made an effort to make someone feel included, when you went out of your way. If you did 2, tell us about a time when you felt lonely. Number 3, a time when you saw discrimination. And number 4, where your thoughts about diversity, are they different to your mum and dad's? Are the thoughts of your generation about different diversity groups different to your mum and dad's? Have a think about that. And I want you to stand up as you think about it. Everyone up, think about that. And if you're a fast typist, you might like to share it for us. Going to do some stretching as we're thinking and some moving. Got to keep active. Now, I'd like to share some more examples, and I'm sorry if I didn't give you enough time to finish that activity. So what we're going to do now is have a look at some different guidelines that have been developed. This is the guidelines on diversity and inclusion. So we've already seen the position paper, and this guide has been developed to help National Scout organisations and regions and districts and groups think about whether or not they're providing diversity and inclusion in the programs that are available. It says, we've already talked about this, we need to recognise shared values and human rights, that the youth programs and the awards, the badges that we're delivering need to be inclusive in our designing so that every young person can do them. We need to make sure that the adults who are supporting our young people are in fact from different community groups, that they reflect the diversity of scouting just as we'd hope our members are, and we need to check that we've got good governance practices. So whether that be at the group level when we're holding meetings or right through to your region and the national levels, those things are very important. And there's 10 focus areas. And you can see those focus areas there. And the idea is that if you're interested and if you want to work on a project, you could pick one of those 10 areas, go to the document, and there's some questions that you could answer. And there's some questions that might help you identify how you can provide scouting programs even better than what you're doing now. So have a think about those. You might like to get more involved in ensuring you've got an inclusive youth program, an inclusive award scheme. You might want to think about how you could get parents more involved, or perhaps how some of the community groups could become more involved in scouting. Because at the end of this session, I want you to have one thing that you're happy to work on and to consider based on the topics that we've discussed. So it also then brings a call to action. And it says that we're encouraged to review what we're doing and wherever possible, work with schools, work with the government, work with local agencies to make sure that what we're doing reflects what they're doing. And this will be a great step forward to raising our profile in the community and ensuring that scouting and guiding in every country is truly open, accessible, and available for all people. So can you do one thing in your local group to try and ensure that scouting becomes more inclusive? And it might be having a chat to your young people. It might be running some games. It might be talking with your school principal about how things can occur. Lots and lots of different ways, because we need mankind and humanity to reflect the inclusiveness that we want to create in Scouting. Because when every country is truly open and accessible and inclusive of all people, we'll know that we've gone a long way to creating a better world, as our founder mentioned back in 1907. So, and it says that this can be achieved by doing certain things. And again, I've already talked about these. Recognizing and promoting human rights, defining and prioritizing diversity and how important it is in your group, recognizing the importance of valuing all people, because remember those 6 things that you identified at the start of the exercise are things that are going to be important and that you value, and that other people will have things just the same. We need to check too that we promote diversity and inclusion at all levels, and that we need to change any of our practices or strategies that aren't truly diversive, that aren't clearly inclusive, etc. Now, I know you're all familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals, because there's lots that relate to diversity and inclusion in this. If we think about no poverty, zero hunger, can you think of a number, any number related to the 17 goals? And I would suggest that diversity and inclusion is an important part of every one of those. But my friends, I want us to go even further now, because one of the issues that we are concerned about is gender equality. One of the things that it's really important that we can recognise is the changing role of girls and women in our communities. And it's up to us as men to set the example and to support women so that they can take an equal and contributing place in our communities. And gender equality, SDG goal number 5, is that all humans are born equal, no matter what their gender. And it's our duty to make sure that women, as well as men, have equal opportunities and rights in every part of life. And when women are empowered, the whole society benefits. Now, to support that, our Scout organisation has worked with the United Nations, and in particular, the United Nations for Women, and that our organisations are working together to increase awareness about the importance of gender equality and empowerment, and about striving and inspiring young people to take action towards achieving gender equality. And we've done some great work, as Brother Khalid had mentioned, in Saudi Arabia, following a Messenger of Peace program in that country. The princess has recognised that Scouting will be the leading school subject taught in all schools to promote life skills and to promote citizenship. So that is really, really wonderful. And congratulations and thanks to all our messengers of peace and all the young people and their leaders who've been involved in supporting that to give us that global ability. Now, to support us in the work that we're doing with UN Women, we've been involved in developing some resources. And there's a He for She program that's been specially designed for Scouts. It's been written by Scouts, by Beatrice, our diversity and inclusion expert from Portugal. And Beatrice is working in Kuala Lumpur, and she worked very, very closely with people from UN Women regarding the He for She program. And if you'd like to have a look at those resources, if you're not familiar with it, it will give you lots of examples for activities that you could use when you're working with young people, particularly people from about the age of 10 upwards. And that's the He for She UN Women's Solidarity Program. So really, really important that we can focus on that. And to support the importance of gender equality in our scouting, we've also a self-assessment tool. And this is a checklist that you can use in your group, or you can use at your National Scout organisation to see whether or not you are achieving gender equality. And if we have a think about the number of women out of the 12 elected members of the World Scout Committee, we don't have a 50-50 balance. We have maybe a 70-30 balance. And it's something that we've got to work towards, because if we're going to be governing World Scouting, it's important that we've got a variety of different approaches and that it's representative, particularly of our genders, so that the this resource is available and you can download it site, and you can, whilst it's written for National Scout organisations such as Bharat Scouts and Guides, you could change it to say our Scout unit and see how well you go, because it's important that we've got that information. What we're going to talk about now is prejudice. And prejudice is a preconceived opinion that probably isn't based on reason or actual experience. It's a value and opinion that we have, that we get it usually very, very early in our life. And often it comes from our parents and from our young teachers and the leaders that we interact with. And sometimes a prejudice can put us against people who are different. And that we've got to be able to identify that we have prejudices. It's fine if we have the prejudice. What we've got to be able to recognise is that we can work beyond that prejudice. We recognise that we have it because it's our previous experiences that influence what we do. So what we're going to do now is just have a look and see, are things always as they seem? Because quite often we've got prejudices that are built up about things, about facts that may have changed or facts that were quite incorrect. So what we're going to do now is we're going to explore. And I know that Bharat Scouts and Guides are so good at creative problem solving. So we're going to learn by doing the scouting way, because our experiences guide our thinking. And you and I don't always see things the same way. It would be so terrible if everyone saw things the same way, if we all enjoyed the same music. So friends, how many F's are there in that sentence, please? Want to use the chat to log your answer. How many F's? Coming to the end, get ready to log your answer. There are 7 F's. I'm sure some of you had 5, some had 6, maybe some of you had different. And this proves that we see things differently. Each of us saw the same statement, but we can infer things differently. And that's great. That's part of diversity. That's part of what makes us a rich environment. Now, what do we see? Let's have a look. What do you see now? Do you see black rectangles, or do you see white grids? What about now? It's great. We all see things differently. Some people will see white dots flashing out. Others might see black dots. Others might see grey. And that's fine again, because we all see things differently. Now, what's longer? AB or BC? And my friends, They are exactly the same. Exactly the same. They're equal in length. What about now? What about our lines? Are any of the lines parallel? And I'm sure you know the answer. Of course they are. And do we have red lines that are parallel? Or in fact, are they curved? And who's the biggest person? Is it the person at the front or the person at the back? Or are you clever enough now to realize all people are exactly the same size? It's our mind playing tricks with us. And quite often, friends, that's what happens when we're talking about prejudice. And look, some of you have raised your hands for questions. I'm really sorry. At this stage, I can't address those, but I'll ask Madhu, my great mate, to see if we can work our way through those at the end. So I do apologise. So what shapes do you see now? Do you see a triangle or do you see black circles? And the literature will tell us most people see a white triangle, but who knows? What about now? Is it the Eskimo or do you see the Indian face? Because it's whatever we see is what we believe. And do you see a goblet or do you see two people looking at each other? And again, can you hear the trumpet player, the saxophonist, or do you see the silhouette of the lady? And now, is it an old lady or is it a beautiful young lady with a green feather in her hair? Remember, we all see things differently, and that's why we've got to be open when it comes to seeing and believing what's happening. Now, seeing is believing. This is curbside art in New York. And have a look closely, because the artist on the right is the real person, and the young man on the left, his mirror is what he's actually drawn. So we can't always believe what we can see. Have you ever seen an acrobat without a head? Or a soccer player that's got an arm 2 meters long? Things are not always as they appear. And it's important that you and I are prepared to consider things from a different perspective. So what we're going to do now is have a think about diversity. And we're going to hear what other people say and think about diversity. So now I've got a slight hitch here, just moving that over. Thank you. So who said this? I don't want my house to be walled in on all sides and my windows to be stifled. I want all cultures of all lands to be blown about my house as freely as possible. But I refuse to be blown off my feet by any. Of course, someone very, very famous in your country, Gandhi. Did you get it? Here's our next one. We may have different religions, different languages, different coloured skin, but we all belong to one human race. Kofi Annan, the 7th Secretary General of the United Nations. Did you get that one? It's time for parents to teach young children early on that in diversity there is beauty and strength. And my friends, think about that. In diversity there is beauty and strength. And for those of you that have been in a large gathering of people, there is such diversity and there is such strength. So who said that? Ms. Angelou, the American poet, singer, and civil rights activist. Moving on. There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals, all based on a single guiding principle: to leave no one behind. We will only realise this vision if we reach all people, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender equity. Now, I wonder if you can guess that person. Someone very, very important. Ban Ki-moon, the UN Secretary General up until 2015, and great friend and supporter of Scouting. And our diversity is our strength. What a dull and pointless life it would be if everyone was the same. Angelina Jolie, filmmaker, actress, and humanitarian. And now finally, nurturing this largest generation of young people through promoting and celebrating inclusion and the diversity are keys to unlocking a massive potential for peace and in creating a better world. Let's say it again, because this is what we are doing. Rovers, leaders, we're nurturing this largest generation of young people through promoting and celebrating diversity and inclusion, because they're the keys to unlocking the massive potential that young people have for bringing about peace and in creating a better world. And who said that but our own Ahmed Al-Amandi, our Secretary General of WUSM, who I know is going to be with you tomorrow, and how proud we are of him and his work. So, my friends, as we're getting to the end of the challenge, I want you to think about what we've done. And I want you to set yourself one goal. It may only take 10 minutes, but what will you do as a result of today? What will you do? You've just spent an hour thinking about diversity and inclusion. What one positive thing will you do? Will you go back and talk in your unit? Will you run a game? Will you discuss this with other leaders at your staff meeting? What's one thing that you could do? Because together we can make a difference. Now, if you need support at all in whatever you're doing, go to WUSM Services, go into scout.org WUSM Services, and you'll find that there's a whole lot of different resources available. Just click on the pink diversity and inclusion, and it will take you through to all of the resources that we have talked about and that I've shared with you today. So in ending, I would like you to do the chain of diversity when you get an opportunity, when you're next with a group of people. And what I'd like you to do is give them a little strip of paper, and they've got to write 3 things that they can share with others. So 3 things that are the same and 3 things that are different, because you identified 6 ways that you were different that made your identity. Let's get people thinking about their identities, and let's get them sharing their differences and celebrating their successes, because that's what's going to make and create a better world. So, brothers and sisters, diversity is about respecting and celebrating differences. And inclusion's about accepting all people and making everyone feel welcome. I wish you every success in your scouting as you remember the importance of diversity and inclusion. And I'd like to thank you for participating, and I'm going to hand back now to the chairman to see if there are any questions. I think we have a couple of minutes where we could answer some questions. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters, and great scouting.
Thank you, Mr. Peter, sir. Thank you for your wonderful and motivational speech. Before any delay, now I would like to welcome Mr. Bablu Goswami, sir, Assistant Director, Eastern Region, for her valuable session.
Thank you, Arnabji. Now, can we start? Scott Go Solar.
Madam Cynthia is there, Luz is there. Just ask to Madhu sir for guidance. I don't know why not call you now. Madhu sir, can you come in?
Yeah, I think there's a small confusion. Now we request Miss Lav and Miss Cynthia to take Scouts Go Solar forward. Miss Lav and Cynthia.
Good morning, everybody. I want to check if you hear me, and if you hear me,
Yes, Cynthia, go ahead.
on the chat. And thank you very much for Peter Blatch and sharing with us what diversity and inclusion is and how a better world is if we are in a diverse world and an inclusive community, as you said. Thank you, Peter, very much for that input. So I'm privileged to be sharing the stage today with Miss Lau. How are you, Miss Lau? Can you hear me, Miss Lau? I think we are having a couple of technical issues. Okay, and for the ones who are watching us on YouTube, please leave your questions on the chat. Our hosts are very well helping us in passing the questions and your questions for our question section, so we will be able to answer your questions here. Let's see. So what about Scouts Go Solar? I want to ask you first. I know there's a lot of sun in Asia. Today I'm not in Asia, but there's a lot of sun and there's a lot of warmth in your country, especially in India. So I want to ask you all why solar energy is so important. And I would like you to write on the chat, and I will try to follow on what are your answers on YouTube. Why is solar energy so important? Can you tell me, please? We can save energy, yes. It's renewable energy also. Saving energy, yes. What else? Why is solar energy so important? And I'm checking on the chat on YouTube. Free energy, also it's free. This we have it every day and it's clean. It's reusable, it never ends. Exactly. So why we haven't yet fully shifted to the use of solar energy? You might be wondering why. But the truth is that it's also a resource that needs a little bit of technology, but lucky us, there's a lot of technologies now that are for the domestic use and can be more accessible for more people. And the reason why WOSM has shared efforts with South Africa, which is the organization that helps partnering us in understanding solar energy, is because they are also working in bringing solar energy to communities, and they see the value of partnering with Scouts so that we can bring this understanding and knowledge to local communities, but also to young people that will be decision makers soon. So if we are going to talk about Scouts Go Solar and the Scouts Go Solar Challenge, first let's talk about Earth Drive. Have you heard about Earth Drive? Do you know what is this logo about? What do we mean by a tribe above all? I'm coming from El Salvador, by the way, where our native our native people, the original people from our country, they were organized in tribes. And I know that in many countries, the original people, the natives, were related or were gathered in clans or in tribes or in families. And our tribe, we launched it 2 months ago, more or less, because we want to make a call of action for all young people, for all institutions, for scouts and non-scouts to join efforts together for our planet. We want to be a tribe that takes care of the environment. And our YouTubers are very active, replace for Scouts for Environmental Program. Yes, we are replacing the World Scout Environmental Program for Earth Tribe because we evaluated all the benefits of Scout Environmental Program, and there were many, but we needed to update a little bit after 10 years of having the program. So what do we mean by having a tribe? Or why are we inviting you to be part of this tribe? First of all, we want you to be part of a global community, and we know that you are already, but we want to have this community be inspired by shared values of collaborating and taking care of our planet. So we want to have a focus. And we know that different scouts have different interests. And we know that maybe some of young scouts, from cubs to leaders, have an interest of arts. Others might have an interest, as Peter was saying, diversity and inclusion. Others have interest on environment. And many of you have interest in more than one. But we want to have different families if we want, and you can belong to many of the families. So if you want to be part of the ones who are taking extra efforts for our planet, we want you to be part of the Earth Tribe. Is young people, scouts and non-scouts, taking care and tackling climate change issues. I want to know if Ms. Lau managed to sort out the sound.
I'm using my handphone now.
Great, thank you, Lau. What do you think about joining part of this Earth Tribe?
I think, again, for the global, it's a new way of repackaging World Program by WOSM. And I think many of the up and coming programs, especially for the environmental education, it is a very good initiative, actually.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Lau. And if you see, Lau's scarf is yellow, and my scarf is a little bit like Messengers of Peace. So we have our own little families also, but we all can be part of the Earth Tribe. And that's the idea of that. Now, I want you to pay attention to something that is the most important reason why we picked up the name of tribe. First of all, I was mentioning our original people in our countries. We want to emulate the values of the people that is closer in contact with nature, which are the ones that were the first coexisting with nature, that still respect the nature and value nature in a way that, sadly to say, as we get more and more in the comfort of the cities, we don't get too much aware of this, which is our indigenous peoples in other countries, the original people, in other ones, the Orang Asli. And if I may ask to Bara Scouts and Guide, if you have a term to call the original people or the first people who were populating India, you can share it on the chat. I would like to learn as well. But we recognize that the values of people who are still in very close contact with nature are that they feel that they need to protect the nature. They don't own nature. They need to respect nature because it provides us with resources, it provides us with life, It provides us with resources. They also believe that we are in unity with nature. We are not separated. We are not human and other species as separate things. We are one. We are part of this Mother Earth and nature. And Madhu was sharing with me Adivasis. Is that correct, Madhu?
Yes, yes.
That's the term to use for the people who are original from the India territory. Okay, thank you, Madhu, for that. So there's also a value of self-identification with nature, with species, with animals. So if we see an elephant, if we see tigers, if we see insects, we need to know that we need to identify ourselves as another species. And if we do harm to this species, it's like doing harm to ourselves. And if our community, maybe because of fear, because of understanding or misunderstanding, as Peter rightly was saying, sometimes we understand different things. If our communities are understanding or misunderstanding nature, we need to make the effort to identify ourselves with the species, with the trees, with the forest, in an effort to take care and find the better way to coexist and respect nature. There's also a source of health and well-being because when we are in nature, we feel energized, we feel calm, we feel quietly. We also seek nature for spiritual development, for meditative spaces, to soothe ourselves. And of course, nature is a sustainable way of life. And you were mentioning now that solar energy is also free. So our YouTubers are saying wonderful knowledge, ma'am. Nature all over the world. Absolutely right. Thank you very much. So I encourage you, if you have the opportunity, which is very privileged now and very rare, if you have the opportunity to talk with your Adivasis, with the original people from your community, the ones who are closer, go and ask them, how should you improve? How can you improve in the respect for nature? What do they feel about it? How they think about nature and how we can embrace those values. The other reason why we are using a tribe call for action is that we want to mobilize ourselves. And if we want to mobilize ourselves to take action, to make a really relevant change and meaningful intervention on the way we are treating our natural resources, we need to stay together. We need to have a plan together. So being part of a tribe means that we want to reconnect with our elders, we want to connect with ourselves, we want to have a plan together how we will keep our only planet healthy and how can we stop the behaviors that are harming nature at the moment. And I'm getting also that there's a badge on Bard Scouts and Guide that has solar energy awareness to adapt to SGS in an indigenous way. I'm so very happy to hear that. And this is the way that you can adapt Earth Tribe to the local reality and to your National Scout organization. This is an invitation, but the most important for us is that you take it in the way that better suits your National Scout organization, that better suits the needs of your community, so that this is a tribe that belongs to the community. Great. So how does Earth Tribe and Scouts Go Solar connect? How do you think Earth Tribe and Scouts Go Solar connect? Let's check. First, Ms. Lau, you have been collaborating with us and South Africa in many years. And the main collaboration started in July 2014. Can you share with us a little bit of what your knowledge is about South Africa and a logo that we see here, KISK and Scouts throughout the years?
Okay, I shall share a screen with you. Can
Okay.
you?
Yes, I will stop sharing mine. Maybe Miss Lau can share her screen. So while Miss Lau is sharing the screen, please let us know on the chat on YouTube and here on Zoom. Why do you think solar energy is important for our Earth Drive path?
I'm unable to share,
Okay.
but actually, I can just say it orally. Actually, the collaboration of KISS is in 1999, where the workshops for all the solar ambassadors were done. So the first solar training was in 2013, and there was an agreement between WOSM, KISS, and Greenpeace to do the Scouts Go Solar training. And approximately now about more than 50 solar set ambassadors are being trained. And the future for it is to go global through partnership with WOSM. So that's how old or the history of partnership with Solar Africa and WOSM.
Thank you very much, Miss Lau. And she's right. The first effort of one former scout that was part of Greenpeace into sharing solar education was very early around the 90s. And since then, the idea of collaborating together was evolving and evolving until, as Ms. Lau says, around 2013 and 14, there was the first collaboration between WOSM and South Africa and Greenpeace, and KISK, which you probably know is the Kandersteg Scout Center, made a space to organize the first solar workshops. And then so on, South Africa and Scouts have been developing what could be the concept of Scouts Go Solar. And this year, with the creation of Earth Drive, the full concept of the program is under development, and to have a badge, to have recognition elements for all our Scouts all together. So let's move on with our slides. One moment, please. Okay, great. Sorry about these technical issues. As Lau was mentioning, we have solar ambassadors in different countries endorsed by their national scout organizations. There's many people who have been trained that are not necessarily active with the national teams, but if anybody has been trained on a Scouts Go Solar training, they need to be part of the national team to contribute into the spreading out Scouts Go Solar. Or they can also share the knowledge throughout their scout groups. But the good news now is that we are opening the option for young people starting from 7 to 21 years old to also obtain a recognition on Scouts Go Solar at the grassroots level. So there are different activities. There have been trainings, exhibitions, road shows, and all of them have been connected now recently since 2017 with our Scouts for SDG mobilization because, as you know, we want to contribute with SDGs. So can you tell me which SDGs can we contribute to if we start working with solar energy for our planet? What SDGs can we contribute to achieve if we start working with solar energy and we start spreading awareness for our planet? There are 17 SDGs, as you know, and Scouts committed to work for all of them together, all the national Scout organizations, and now we want to contribute to all of them. What SDGs do you think we are contributing to? And you're right, we are contributing to a couple of SDGs with Scouts Go Solar Challenge and South Africa. First of all, we are contributing with SDG number 4 because we are providing education to people and better understanding on our resources. Our YouTubers friends are saying that affordable and clean energy. Yes, that's SDG number 7. Thank you very much. But not only SDG number 7, because if we bring solar energy to where people is living, in the urban areas, even in the rural areas where the people are living, we also are contributing to SDG number 11 for sustainable cities. And also we can contribute to SDG number 12, which is related to responsible consumption in terms of energy. There are many other types of consumption that are affecting our planet, but in terms of energy. And of course, overall, we can contribute to SDG 13, which is climate change, climate action. And those are all SDGs that if you start engaging into activities of Scouts Go Solar and learning how to use solar energy, you can also contribute to as well. Who of you would like to really be a champion for SDGs and a Scouts Go Solar promoter? Who of you would like to be? So what we are trying to do at the moment is that South Africa has provided us with a solar energy handbook, and we know that UNESCO has developed the SDG objectives, and we as WOSUM developed the Scouts for SDG mobilization, which says that we will integrate our work with education for sustainable development. So one work that we will start to do soon is that we will make an updated manual where we can integrate all our objectives, the methods, with solar energy activities. That will be an updated version of what you are looking at now on your screen for a resource for you. But also you need to know that to implement our tribe and to be part of the tribe and to be part of the Scouts Go Solar Challenge, there are many things that we are considering and that we want you to know. First, this is an individual journey. We want each of you to take a journey and a commitment to promote solar energy. We want to offer you through our tribe some learning paths with educational objectives, and we want to offer you the activities that can help you achieve your recognition. And we want you to take action with a community project on solar energy so that when you get the recognition, you become part of the solar family and part of the Earth Tribe. That means that each of you, from being an individual, a scout interested in nature, will be taking part of a community. And I know many of the scout activities in Bharat Scouts and Guide are also related with schools and are also related with local governments. So we want you to invite any person who is interested to support to be part of the tribe. They can also be part of the tribe. So in your effort to contribute to the better use of solar energy, you can invite local businesses, more educational institutions, universities, schools, local governments, NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and donors. All of them are part of the tribe. Are we missing people? Are we missing some institution that you think we should be inviting them to be part of the tribe? If you think on a local business on your city, please write the name on the chat so we can learn who else do you think we can involve to be part of the tribe. Or if you have other ideas that who else can be part of the tribe if it's not the ones mentioning here. Ms. Lau, are we missing here someone that we should be involving in the Earth Tribe community?
Let's see. I think all the people who are involved in other kinds of energy who supports, it could be not necessarily solar, but any environmental NGOs who are taking care of the earth, to be exact. You know, not necessarily scouts, but NGOs in various communities in our various countries. Yeah.
Yes, you are very right. Ms. Lau is very right in saying other organizations that work with the environment, that they need to be involved as well. Here, Inesnu is saying churches can be involved, youth can be involved, all departments can be involved. Yes, you can also involve media, radio, TV, people who is not necessarily involved with environment, but that they will suffer if our planet suffers even more. They can also be involved, and that's very well said. Thank you very much, Ms. Lau. So what are we aiming for if you are an adult leader and you are in our session? We are looking for you to be a leader, promoting environmental education, promoting and inviting young people to be a part of this community, supporting young people in the completion of these challenges and bringing them the resources and information that they need. Ms. Lau has done an excellent job in the APR region and other solar ambassadors on APR region, on the Philippines, on Thailand, promoting activities with roadshow. Is that true, Ms. Lau?
Yes, actually, for road shows, we have done, I personally have done in APR region, Thailand, in Singapore, also Philippines, my brother Bernardo has done it. And in Malaysia, we have done a few road shows also, especially Scouts for SDGs. We have done also road shows for a special occasion like Founders Day. So whenever we have a chance to showcase this new program for Scouts, SGS, we are all ready to go for this roadshow. Yeah.
Yes, that's an excellent resource. And as Lau says, Burns, all the Messengers of Peace networks and teams have been doing leadership, has been being ready. That when they do roadshow, when they are open to receive Ms. Lau for a session or any other of the solar ambassadors, that means that the organization is ready to promote this education, that your communications channels for the Bharat Scouts and Guides, for the provinces and the districts are ready to promote solar energy education, that you are ready to be doing community assessment, to make an assessment with the community, to talk with the community. What do they need? How can you support them? It's not only a matter of just bringing the idea to them, but asking them, how can you contribute and how solar energy can help them? And then design with them the way to solve the issue that they have in terms of energy. Maybe they do not have energy in that community, and Scouts Go Solar can bring it there. We want also to spread out other resources, adult leaders, young people to take action on this. We want to monitor and evaluate because we want to know where are you reaching out, who is supporting you, and sharing the outcomes and the impact. And all of this is part of being an Earth tribe, an organized tribe supporting the planet. So how does this connect with Scouts Go Solar? Again, first you need to know that the Earth tribe is offering 4 learning paths. One path for better choices, one path for nature and biodiversity, one path for clean energy, and one path for healthy planet. And Lau, which path do you think is the one that is related to Scouts Go Solar?
Clean energy.
Clean energy, right. And we are calling it clean energy because there are many ways of harnessing energy from nature. In our case, and today we are talking about solar energy. So we are focalizing our SDGs and we are organizing our paths so we can offer young people a way to learn about it. What activities of human life can be powered by the sun? I want to hear your thoughts. can you write it down on the chat? What activities of human life can be powered by the sun? You can also write it here on Zoom or in YouTube. From all the things that you do, from all the things that we normally do, what things can be powered by the sun? I'm imagining that I could power my cell phone with a solar energy charger instead of using other energy. I have seen that in some houses, they use solar energy to warm the water instead of using fire. They use solar heaters to warm the water. What other uses for solar energy do we have for the things that we do every day? Heating the water, yes. Solar energy provides vitamin D, that's very true, and it's very essential. Almost all activities, yes. But if you want to go more specific, no greenhouses emission also. Solar cookers, they're mentioning here. You can cook with solar energy, that's true. You can make an oven with solar energy. Maintain our biological clock, that's true. Emergency lights, that can be done with solar energy. Full buildings can be powered by solar energy if we do the right installation. Full houses with solar panels can be powered by solar energy. Even if it's cloudy, we can get power from solar energy. So what we want to do is our young people to learn to be aware of this knowledge of solar energy, to cooperate with the community, and to take action as that tribe, particularly in bringing solar energy to the people who need it, bringing solar energy to communities, bringing solar energy into the cities, bringing solar energy into the tiny activities that we do every day. You have a resource now that is called the Earth Tribe Implementation Manual, and the Earth Tribe is offering you the learning objectives. And I'm sharing with you a link where you can see the learning objectives now. From 7 to 10, this is for cubs. From 10 to 14 years old, this is for scouts. For 15 and above, this is for rovers and above. So that all of young people can become an innovator for clean energy. And what is an innovator for clean energy? Is the person who is able to figure out new ideas on how to use clean energies. And our invitation today for you is to become an innovator through Scout Go Solar. What does that mean? As an innovator, we want you to pick, depends on your age, what learning objectives do you want to achieve to go through your journey to become part of the tribe. And if I go through the objectives, I will read a couple of them. I know the causes of climate change. That's one of the objectives. I am trying to reduce my impact on climate change. That's another of the objectives. I acknowledge my responsibility in the protection of the climate. I am willing to reduce my energy consumption and impact on the climate. How can you do that? But this is a goal that we want you to set up for yourself, that you are willing to reduce my energy consumption. I am actively promoting sustainable energy and climate-friendly activities. I want you to take that objective for you. So you can pick these objectives, and because all of you are different, as Peter was saying, we want you to choose what activity will you be using to complete this objective. And that in that way, you will make a personal curricula for you. And also Bharat Scouts and Guide, as Madhu was saying, has some suggestions and badges for this. and you can also take that into consideration. So if you are a young person, first of all, being part of the tribe and Scouts Go Solar, we want you to do a self-assessment. How aware are you about solar energy? Then we want you to make a personal plan. What are your objectives? What activities are you going to use? Then we want you to, from the activities that you agreed that you are going to use and the project that you want to be doing, you will start taking the action, executing the project, visiting the community, understanding what and how you can support them. And once you complete your activities and your project, you will be able to celebrate obtaining the recognition of Scouts Go Solar and obtaining the recognition of the Earth Tribe. Once you complete your recognition, because you were going through the path of clean energy, you can also keep exploring into other paths that the Earth Tribe is offering you. Hopefully you explore more than one, because our planet needs a lot of help. But this is the way how you will be able to obtain the recognition of Scouts Go Solar in any of the sections that we have in our movement. And this is also based on the regulation of Bharat Scouts and Guide on how they implement Scouts Go Solar and the Earth Tribe. So this is available or will be available from 7 to 15 years and above for young people to become innovators and Scouts Go Solars. What do you have as a tool to get this done? And maybe Ms. Lau can help us to share with us the different resources that we have. What do we have in WOSUM services, Ms. Lau, for the adult leaders that would like to learn more about Scouts Go Solar and solar energy?
For WOSUM services, I think you can go to the services platform, like what Peter said, and you can request for help, for advice, or even to run solar activities in your training in your country. As for only Scouts Go Solar activities, we, like Cynthia said, we have the manual, and Solar Africa and WOSUM is coming up with linking this, updating this manual and linking it with the Earth Tribe. And eventually the resources is going to improve. And yeah, I am also there. If you can contact me, I can share with you some of my experiences. And yeah, can get a lot of resources actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lau. There is an Earth Tribe website that I just shared with you as well, where you can first make a quiz. When do you want to start? But you can also start directly with Scouts Go Solar. I will, for a moment, share with you the page if you have not had access to it yet. This is the Earth Tribe page, where you can find information about Earth Tribe, be part of the local community on Facebook, take a quiz to discover what are your skills in each of the challenges, and then start exploring Scout Go Solar Challenge. Take the challenge, there's implementation manuals and action kit with activities and more information for you and about the partner and a bit of knowledge on solar energy. So these are resources that you have at your disposal. We also have some other resources that young people can use and adults and NSOs can use. So we are measuring that. You need to know that we need your support to measure how many NSOs are adopted Scouts Go Solar and Challenge. And in this case, Bharat Scouts and Guide is telling us that they have a batch and they are also working on Earth Tribe. We want to learn how many of your Scouts and non-Scouts are actively participating in Scouts Go Solar activities or promoting activities in your Scouts group. We need you to, if you're a Scout leader, to share that with your National Scout organization. If you are a rover and are promoting activities, we need you to share with the National Scout organization because that helps us inspire others. And I know that many of you, especially in India, you are sharing that through scout.org, and we are very grateful for that. We also want you to share how many scouts are completing the Scouts Go Solar batch once we start implementing it, and more about your learning objectives in general. So you can find also ideas on inspiration or stories on Scouts for SDG Hub. There's a nice list of things that you can do there and explore about solar energy and what other Scouts are doing. If you want to get resources as a young person for your project, you can also upload a project on the Scouts donation platform and start crowdsourcing for your project, where other donors are looking at your ideas. Soul Africa will be looking at your ideas. Messengers of Peace are looking at your ideas. And if your idea is something that is making a big change in your community, you will be receiving funds. You can use that same platform to promote this effort, that your project, through social media. And many of your projects will be successful through the support of a global community. This donation platform is made out for Scouts, and a lot of people young people especially are getting benefit of using that. So I will open the floor for questions if there's any, and maybe Lau, if there's something that I missed or something that we need to mention on Scouts Go Solar, if you can help me on that.
I think India has Bharat Scouts have their solar ambassadors. Identify them or get to know them, and request for help from them, support, and the most important thing I think at this stage now is really awareness. And in doing the awareness, it is you get your badge, which is part of the progressive schemes in your NSOs, you know. So they're actually learning about renewable energy, taking care of the climate, and at the same time, they are also not neglecting their progressive schemes in the Scouts syllabus, so to speak. Because sometimes many leaders think that, oh, there are so many programs, we might be neglecting our progressive schemes, which each NSO has it. So I encourage everybody, or most NSOs, to incorporate SGS into your progressive schemes, so that by doing one activity, you are killing, not killing birds, but you're doing achieving many objectives as a result of it. Yeah, so
that's very true. Thank you, Ms. Lau, for mentioning that. The most important thing is that you incorporate Scouts Go Solar as part of your progressive scheme. We want you to focus not only on the activities, but better to help the young person to identify what objectives they want to cover, and then help them based on their own personal objectives to identify the activities based on their interest. And that makes a personal and very individual experience. So I think we will pass it over to our host, and this is a space if we want to answer questions. I'm aware also that this is a space to answer questions from diversity and inclusion, but we are very grateful to have this space to talk more about Solar Earth Tribe, and thank you also, Ms. Lau, for contributing with your expertise on this. Back to you, our team for Bharat Scouts and Guides.
My heartily thanks a lot to Miss Kathy and Miss Lau for a wonderful and motivational session. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Bablu Goswami, sir, Assistant Director, Eastern Region. Sir, you're heartily welcome. Now, the screen is all yours.
Thank you so much, Arnabji. नाउ अभी हम लोगों ने सिंथिया मैडम और लाओ मैडम के द्वारा सोलर स्कॉट गो सोलर के बारे में बहुत अच्छी तरह से जाने, और ये हमारी परंपरा है और एक हमारी वैदिक अवधारणा भी है कि हम लोग सूर्य को भगवान के रूप में पूजा करते हैं, क्योंकि सूर्य एक असीम स्रोत है ऊर्जा का, और इसी को यहाँ पर दर्शाने का भी कोशिश किया गया है। पहले ये जो है सो WSCP वर्ल्ड इन्वायरमेंट प्रोग्राम के अंतर्गत स्कॉट गो सोलर हमारा था, किंतु अभी इसको अर्थ ट्राइब के अंदर में लाया गया। तो वर्ल्ड स्कॉट इन्वायरमेंट प्रोग्राम को ही अभी अर्थ ट्राइब के रूप में उसका नाम को रूपांतरित किया गया है। अर्थ ट्राइब जो है सो एक वैश्विक आंदोलन है, एक विश्व रूपी आंदोलन है जो पर्यावरण के प्रति सजग है, पर्यावरण से रिलेटेड कार्यों को करती है, और कैसे हम अपने इस उपग्रह को, जो इस प्लानेट को हम संरक्षित करेंगे और सुरक्षित करेंगे, इसके लिए मिलकर कार्य करने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। तो स्कॉट गो जो सोलर है वो हमारा वर्ल्ड स्कॉट मूवमेंट के द्वारा स्विट्जरलैंड का जो कंडस्टैंड इंटरनेशनल स्कॉट सेंटर है, वहाँ पर एक स्विस NGO है जो इस प्रोग्राम को देखते हैं, ग्रीन पीस और सोलारिफिका। सोलाफिका जो है वो और ग्रीन पीस और वोजम के द्वारा तैयार किया गया एक पर्यावरण साझेदारी एक्टिविटी है, जिसको 2013 में सबसे पहले लाया गया, और 2014 में आधिकारिक रूप से पायलट प्रोजेक्ट के रूप में इसको चुना गया। और फर्स्ट जो हमारा प्रोग्राम हुआ वो मनीला में हुआ था, फिलीपींस में, बॉय स्कॉट एसोसिएशन के द्वारा, और दूसरा हमारा जो है इस्लामाबाद में हुआ था, वो पाकिस्तान बॉय स्कॉट एसोसिएशन के द्वारा कराया गया था। ये जो हमारा स्कॉट गो सोलर है, तो सबसे पहले हम लोगों को जानने का जरूरत है कि क्यों हमको सौर ऊर्जा की जरूरत है, क्योंकि आने वाला समय जो है वो सौर ऊर्जा के बारे में ही हम लोगों को जागरूक करने का काम करती हैं और सिखाने का काम करती है। तो व्यावहारिक रूप से सौर ऊर्जा जो है हमारा सौर ऊर्जा जो है बहुत ही इजी गोइंग हमारा ऊर्जा का स्रोत है, बहुत आसानी से हमको मिल जाती है। और दूसरी बात है कि सौर ऊर्जा एक नवीनीकरण ऊर्जा है जिसको हम फिर से रिन्यू कर सकते हैं, और ये एक हमारे एक तरह से परंपरागत ऊर्जा का स्रोत है जिसका कोई नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट हमारा नहीं होता है। फिर हम लोगों को थोड़ा ये भी ध्यान देना पड़ता है कि क्यों आखिर स्काउट गाइड को इसमें क्यों इन्वॉल्व करते हैं। तो स्काउट और गाइड जो है एक बहुत ही जिम्मेदारी के साथ में काम करते हैं, और एक जिम्मेवार स्काउट होने के नाते हमारा एक कर्तव्य बनता है कि हम लोगों को अपने कम्युनिटी के लिए, अपने समुदाय के लिए बेहतर कार्य करना है। तो सौर ऊर्जा के लाभों को दुनिया भर के जितने भी व्यक्ति हैं उन तक पहुंचाने का काम हम लोगों को करना चाहिए। हम लोगों को यह कोशिश करना है कि जो सौर ऊर्जा है उसको हम जन जन तक पहुंचाएं कि क्या इसका बेनिफिट है। और इसके पीछे एक हमारा लक्ष्य है कि जलवायु के जो रक्षा है, जो हमारा मौसम परिवर्तन हो रहा है, इसके लिए कहीं ना कहीं जो हमारे द्वारा किए जो कार्य जाते हैं जिसके कारण से पर्यावरण में बदलाव आते हैं, तो जलवायु की रक्षा के लिए सौर्य समाधान के लिए हमें युवाओं को मोटिवेट करना है, उनको प्रेरित करना है, ताकि भविष्य की पीढ़ी को शामिल किया जा सके, उन्हें सशक्त बनाया जा सके और उनको संलग्न किया जा सके। स्काउट के जो लीडर हैं उनको सीखने सिखाने के लिए कार्यशाला के रूप में भी हम सुविधा उपलब्ध करा सकते हैं। हमारा एक और भी प्रयास होना चाहिए कि दूसरों को प्रेरित करना चाहिए ताकि हम अपने आप को सोलराइज्ड कर सके और एक अच्छे सोलर सेंटर के रूप में अपने आप को हम उदाहरण प्रस्तुत कर सके। इसके लिए हमें क्या करना होगा? इसके लिए हमें क्या है कि जो सोलर एनर्जी हैंडबुक है, वो सोलर एनर्जी हैंडबुक को डाउनलोड करना है। उसमें बहुत सारे एक्टिविटी दिए हुए हैं। उन एक्टिविटी को हमको अपने जो स्काउट्स हैं या जो हमारे ग्रुप के लोग हैं, डिस्ट्रिक्ट के लोग हैं, उनको इसके बारे में जानकारी देना है। और बहुत सारी छोटी-छोटी चीज़ें हैं जिसके बारे में अभी बताया गया, एक्टिविटी जिसको हम डेली स्काउटिंग लाइफ में कर सकते हैं। जैसे हम लोग जो नॉर्मल हम लोग बैटरी टॉर्च यूज़ करते हैं, उसके जगह में हम सोलर टॉर्च भी इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। जो हमारा सोलर कुकर हम इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। फिर हमारा सन आर्ट है, अगर हम आर्ट के क्षेत्र में बात करें तो सन आर्ट के रूप में भी हम इसका इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। जो भी हम सोलर से रिलेटेड एक्टिविटी करते हैं, तो एक और भी महत्वपूर्ण बात है कि हम सोलर का जो भी कार्य करेंगे उसको scott.org पे जरूर शेयर करेंगे, ताकि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग उस पे देखें और प्रेरित हो और एक नया आइडिया उन लोगों को मिल सके। जैसा कि सिंथिया मैडम ने आपको बताया कि अगर आप लोग अच्छे प्रोग्राम के साथ में इसको करते हैं, अच्छे आपके पास प्रोजेक्ट है, तो स्कॉट आपको वोजम की तरफ से scott.org जो है सो मैसेंजर ऑफ पीस जो है सो आपका प्रोजेक्ट को नज़र रखते हुए आप लोगों को कुछ फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंट भी वहाँ से मिल सकता है, वित्तीय सहायता मिल सकता है अगर आपका प्रोजेक्ट बहुत अच्छा है तो। हम मेरा सबों से यही अनुरोध है कि जितना अधिक से अधिक हो सकता है हमें सोलर के बारे में लोगों को अवेयर करना है और बहुत सारी छोटी-छोटी चीज़ें हैं उसका इस्तेमाल करना है। अगर हम अब अच्छे काम कर रहे हैं, अच्छी बातें करते हैं तो ज़रूर एक दूसरे के साथ में शेयर करना है। इसको दूसरे लोगों को बताना है ताकि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग प्रेरित हुए और स्कॉट गो सोलर का काम को करें। इसके लिए हमारे जो कम्युनिटी में विभिन्न तरह के लोग हैं, जैसे बिजनेसमैन हैं, हमारे टीचर्स हैं, एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट हैं, तो इन सभी को हम प्रेरित कर सकते हैं कि वो सोलर से जुड़े। अभी जितने भी व्यूअर्स हमारे देख रहे हैं या जितने भी हमारे स्कॉट गाइड इस स्कॉट गो सोलर प्रोग्राम को देख रहे हैं, तो उनसे एक अनुरोध है कि वो सोलर एनर्जी जो बुक है उसको डाउनलोड करें और उसमें बहुत सारी छोटी-छोटी एक्टिविटी दिए हुए हैं। उन एक्टिविटी को आप कीजिए और करने के बाद scott.org पे ज़रूर पोस्ट कीजिए ताकि हम लोग इस कार्यक्रम को और ज़्यादा बढ़ावा मिल सके। तो थैंक यू, बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद एक अपॉर्चुनिटी देने के लिए। बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful speech. Now I would like to invite our Executive Director of Bharat Scouts and Guide, Mr. Krishna Swami sir, to sum up the today's session. Sir, the screen is yours.
थैंक यू ऑल, सभी का धन्यवाद। आज बेहतर विश्व के निर्माण में दो आयामों के बारे में हमने सुना। पहला वक्ता जो विश्व स्काउट समिति के जो सदस्य है, ऑस्ट्रेलिया से लीडर ट्रेनर है, जिन्होंने भारत के राष्ट्रीय प्रशिक्षण के पचमढ़ी में अपना लीडर ट्रेनिंग पूर्ण किया था। उन्होंने अपने वक्तव्य में विविधता और समावेश इस विषय हमसे बात किया और पहले उनकी जो सब्जेक्ट था उसके बारे में चर्चा करेंगे। उन्होंने आज हमारे सामने इस विषय पे ये प्रस्तुति दी कि विविधता और समावेश स्काउटिंग में क्या होना चाहिए, स्काउटिंग में विविधता और समावेश होने की क्या महत्व है और इस विषय में अधिक जानकारी हमें कहां से प्राप्त हो सकता है। विविधता और समावेश के बारे में विश्व के महान व्यक्तियों ने क्या बताया, इन 4 एरियाज में उन्होंने हमसे बात किया। पहला, उन्होंने ये सवाल रखा कि जो हर एक व्यक्ति की पहचान ये क्या हो सकती है। एक व्यक्ति की पहचान के बारे में क्या सोचा जाता है या हमें क्या मालूम करना है? हर एक व्यक्ति का अपने पहचान के बारे में एक अलग विचार होता है। इसके साथ साथ उन्होंने ये भी बताया, हर एक व्यक्ति का, एक ही व्यक्ति की बहुत सारे पहचान हो सकता है। उन्होंने अपने व्यक्तिगत जीवन से ये बताया, मैं एक शिक्षक हूँ, विद्यालयों का निरीक्षक हूँ, स्काउट में एक दल संचालित करता हूँ, एक प्रशिक्षक हूँ, परिवार में एक पिता हूँ, एक दादा हूँ। तो हर एक व्यक्ति की एक से ज्यादा व्यक्तित्व होता है और इन चीजों को हम जब अलग अलग परिस्थितियों में देखते हैं, हमारी उनके बारे में एक विचार बनता है। तो स्काउटिंग में विविधता के बारे में क्या विचार है? उन्होंने ये बताया कि हम हर एक व्यक्ति या समूह, हम अपने में एक अलग पहचान रखते हैं, लेकिन स्काउटिंग एक संगठन के रूप में इन सबको जब समावेश करता है, इन सभी विविधताओं को एकत्रित करता है, तभी वो पूर्ण होता है। इसके साथ साथ उन्होंने दूसरा ये बताया कि इंक्लूजन या समावेश से हम क्या तात्पर्य रखते हैं। समावेश से तात्पर्य यह है कि हमारी विविधताओं में जो व्यक्ति या समूह हमारे सामने आते हैं, उन सबको अवसर प्रदान करना है और हमारे जो कार्यक्रम में उन सबको मौका मिलना है। इस जगह में हम ये चर्चा करना बेहतर रहेगा कि भारत स्काउट्स गाइड्स की कार्यक्रमों को हम क्या इन विविधताओं के अनुरूप हमने बनाया है या नहीं बनाया। हम देखेंगे भारत स्काउट्स गाइड्स की जो युवा कार्यक्रम APRO पार्ट 2 और पार्ट 3 में दर्शाया गया। सबसे पहले हम अपने गणवेश या यूनिफॉर्म के बारे में देखेंगे। आपको मालूम होगा कि हम ग्रामीण और ट्राइबल इलाकों में रहने वाले युवाओं को स्काउटिंग से जुड़ने के लिए उनकी स्थानीय गणवेश या पोशाकों में स्काउट की स्कार्फ, उनके पगड़ी में स्काउट कैप बैज और स्काउट बेल्ट या गाइड बेल्ट, इनको पहनते हुए स्काउट की दक्षता पदकों को पहनते हुए स्काउटिंग गतिविधियों में भाग लेने के लिए हमने मौका दिया। तो हमारे देश की जो विविधता है, जिन्हें राष्ट्रपिता ने गिरिजन और हरिजन के नाम से बुलाया, हम हमारे सभी कार्यक्रमों में के माध्यम से इन तक पहुंचने के लिए विशेष तौर पर मध्य प्रदेश, पूर्वोत्तर क्षेत्रों में, छत्तीसगढ़, इन राज्यों में हमने गिरिजन, आदिवासी, उन तक पहुंचने के लिए और उनके लिए कार्यक्रम रखने के लिए एक महत्वपूर्ण काम किया है। हम देखेंगे कि हमारे दक्षता पदकों में जो हमारे स्काउट गाइड राजस्थान के दूरस्थ इलाके से जो मरु प्रदेश में रहते हैं, उनके लिए मरु स्काउट का भी हमने आविष्कार किया था। तो भारत स्काउट्स गाइड्स के कार्यक्रमों में विविधता उपलब्ध है। इसमें विविधता के लिए जो विश्व स्काउट संगठन जो आयाम पहुंचाना चाहता है, यह है दूसरों की जो विविधताओं के प्रति सद्भाव और उनके लिए आदर। इसके साथ साथ सभी वर्ग और क्षेत्र के युवा एवं वयस्क को स्काउटिंग कार्यक्रमों में प्रतिभागिता करने के लिए ज्यादा से ज्यादा अवसर उपलब्ध कराना। इनके बारे में विश्व स्काउट संगठन की जो दस्तावेज विश्व स्काउट कॉन्फ्रेंस द्वारा जो 1947 में जो ह्यूमन राइट्स की जो अधिकारों के बारे में जो संरचना रखी है, उन्हें 1970 तक की वर्ल्ड स्काउट कॉन्फ्रेंस अपने कमिटमेंट के माध्यम से आगे बढ़ाने के लिए भी एक अवसर रखा और इनको आगे बढ़ाने के लिए सभी राष्ट्रीय स्काउट आंदोलनों से तात्पर्य रखता है। हमारे कार्यक्रमों में सभी तरह के लोग जो शहर, गांव और पहाड़ी इलाकों में रहते हैं, उनको प्रतिभागिता करने की मौका मिलना चाहिए और स्काउटिंग कार्यक्रम उसके अनुरूप तैयार करना है। ये विश्व स्काउट संगठन का एक इच्छा है। विश्व स्काउट संगठन सभी राष्ट्रीय स्काउट संस्थाओं से चाहता है कि व्यक्तिगत अधिकारों को आगे रखने के लिए सभी प्रयास किया जाना चाहिए और संगठन के कार्यक्रमों में विविधता रखना चाहिए। समाज में रहने वाले हर व्यक्ति जिन चिंताधाराओं की आदर करता है, उन सभी चिंताधाराओं को हमें समझना है और उनके एक्सेप्टेंस स्काउटिंग कार्यक्रम में होना भी है। और स्काउटिंग की वयस्क प्रशिक्षण नीति और वयस्क रिसोर्सेस की व्यवस्था में और इंक्लूशन समावेशित करने के लिए कोशिश करना चाहिए और अगर हमारे संगठनात्मक कार्यों में कोई बदलाव लाना है, उन्हें लाना है। इस माध्यम से जो सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स जो 17 बिंदु है, डाइवर्सिटी एंड इंक्लूशन, विविधता और समावेश के माध्यम से इन सभी क्रियाकलापों में हम अपना योगदान दे सकते हैं। जेंडर इक्वालिटी या सभी दोनों पुरुष महिलाओं को समान अवसर के प्रावधान के बारे में इसमें विशेष रूप से बताया गया। भारत स्काउट्स एंड गाइड्स की नियमावली में पिछले 2 संशोधनों में महिला और पुरुष दोनों को यथावत बराबरी की दर्जा मिलने की मौका दी गई है। भारत स्काउट्स एंड गाइड्स के राष्ट्रीय मुख्यालय की 2 महिला निदेशक पूर्व में रह चुके हैं और दक्षता रखने वाले व्यक्तियों को कभी भी भारत स्काउट्स गाइड्स में जगह की कोई कमी नहीं होती है। हमारे कार्यक्रमों में स्काउट और कब विभाग में महिलाओं को दल संचालन करने और प्रशिक्षक तक बनने के लिए मौका उपलब्ध है। भारत स्काउट्स एंड गाइड्स जेंडर इक्वालिटी या दोनों पुरुष महिलाओं की समान अवसर, इसके लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। हम विश्व स्काउट संगठन की आस्था के अनुरूप कार्य करते जा रहे हैं। ही फॉर शी, इस कार्यक्रम में हमारे युवा पिछले युवा सम्मेलन यूथ फोरम जो जयपुर में आयोजित किया गया, तब से बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण तरीके से काम करते हैं। हमारे राष्ट्रीय स्तर का जो युवा समिति है, उसमें दोनों पुरुष और महिलाओं के लिए समान अवसर है और हमारे युवा इस प्रति संवेदनशील भी है। प्रेजुडिस या किसी दूसरे के बारे में हम कुछ अवधारणा रखते हैं जो सही नहीं होता है। समावेश एवं विविधताओं को अगर हमें पूरे अच्छी तरीके से संचालित करना है, तो हमारी जो पूर्व अवधारणा है, जो तथ्यों पर आधारित नहीं है, ऐसे अवधारणाओं को हमें हमारे सामने से हटा देना चाहिए, ताकि जो अभी स्काउटिंग कार्यक्रमों से वंचित है, जो गांव पिछड़े इलाकों में हैं, उनको हम स्काउटिंग की विविधताओं में प्रतिभागिता करा सकते हैं। राष्ट्रीय मुख्यालय में विशेष तौर मुख्य राष्ट्रीय आयुक्त की विचार यह है कि अगर एक बच्चा एक स्कार्फ पहनने तक का भी कोशिश करता है, उसे स्काउटिंग की गतिविधि प्रदान की जानी चाहिए, ताकि स्काउटिंग गाइडिंग की उम्र के हर एक बच्चे को स्काउटिंग पहुंचाना राष्ट्रीय मुख्यालय का उद्देश्य है। हमें ये देखना है क्या हम अपने अवधारणाओं को सही रख रहे हैं या इनमें मिथ्या धारणा है, तो उसे हम बाहर कैसे करेंगे। भारत में जो बच्चे अपने जीविका में या विभिन्न जगहों में परेशानी में हैं, राष्ट्रीय मुख्यालय सहयोग से 2 टीटीएल प्रोजेक्ट चलाया जा रहा है। मैसूर के जंगली इलाकों में रहने वाले ट्राइबल बच्चों के लिए मैसूर के स्काउट दल कार्यक्रम संचालित करती है। इनको एशिया पैसिफिक रीजन की तरफ से सम्मानित भी किया गया। भारत में सभी क्षेत्रों में स्काउटिंग आज उपलब्ध है। इस विशेष सत्र के आखिरी में श्री पीटर ब्लश ने राष्ट्रपिता महात्मा गांधी का उन शब्दों का उल्लेख किया कि मेरे घर की कोई दीवार ना हो, मेरी खिड़कियां खुला रहें, ताकि विश्व के सभी 2 सभ्यताएं जो है वो मेरे पास आए। और मैं ये चाहता हूं कि सभी सभ्यताएं मेरे घर में आसानी से आ सकें, परंतु मैं जहां खड़ा हूं वहां से मेरा पैर ना फिसले। हमें अपनी सभ्यताओं में आस्था रखना चाहिए, साथ साथ दूसरे सभ्यताओं के लिए जगह देना चाहिए और उन्हें आदर भी करना चाहिए। यूनाइटेड नेशन के 7वें सेक्रेटरी जनरल कोफी अन्नान, उन्होंने एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण वक्तव्य दिया था। हो सकता है हम भाषा, जाति, अपने रंग और अपनी आस्थाओं में अलग अलग हो सकते हैं, लेकिन हम सब विश्व में मानवता का एक जो प्रजाति है उनके वक्तव्य है। तो ये जो विभिन्नता होना कोई गलत बात नहीं है, लेकिन हमें ये मालूम होना चाहिए हम सब मानवीय मूल्यों पर आधारित काम करते हैं। माया एंग्लू को कोष करते हुए उन्होंने ये बताया, ये सभी अभिभावकों की दायित्व है कि अपने बच्चों को विविधताओं के जो संरचना में शक्ति और उनकी जो अच्छाई है उसे बच्चों को सिखाना चाहिए। स्काउटिंग के बहुमूल्य साथी और यूएन के पिछले सेक्रेटरी जनरल ban Ki-moon, उन्होंने जो सतत विकास लक्ष्यों को पाने के लिए जो बात रखी है उसके बारे में हमारे वक्ता ने बताया कि हमें इन चीजों को, इन सतत विकास लक्ष्यों को प्राप्त करने के लिए यही देखना है कि हम सभी व्यक्तियों में पहुंचे, बिना शर्त की, वो पुरुष हो या महिला हो या कहां से आ रहे हैं या किस परिवेश से आते हैं। तो ये एक डाइवर्सिटी और इंक्लूजन के लिए एक महत्वपूर्ण बात था। हमारे विश्व स्काउट संगठन के सेक्रेटरी जनरल अहमद अलहंदावी, जो विश्व युवा संगठन के एक युवा प्रतिनिधि है, वो समावेश और विविधता के बारे में ये बताते हैं कि जो विश्व के सबसे युवा पीढ़ी को जो आगे शांति बहाली में और एक बेहतर विश्व के निर्माण में सहयोग करना चाहते हैं उनने ये विविधताओं को अपने कुंजी बनाकर काम करना चाहिए। पीटर ब्लच हमें एक चैलेंज छोड़ते हैं अपने वक्तव्य की आखिरी में। क्या हम व्यक्तिगत रूप में स्काउटिंग की विविधता को बढ़ाने में क्या कार्य कर सकता है और एक जिला संगठन के रूप में और एक राष्ट्रीय संगठन के रूप में हम आज के दिन इस तरफ क्या कार्य कर सकते हैं, इसके बारे में वो हमें एक चैलेंज के साथ आगे बढ़ते हैं। आज की दो वक्ता जो स्काउट गो सोलार के बारे में हमें बताया कि उन्होंने जो बात रखी है उसका हिंदी अनुवाद और संक्षिप्त भाई बबलू गोस्वामी ने आपके सामने रखा। विश्व स्काउट संगठन की एक बेहतर विश्व के निर्माण में भारत स्काउट गाइड्स पहले से ही कार्यरत है। आपकी सवालों की जो जवाब विश्व स्काउट संगठन की वेबसाइट www.scout.org में उपलब्ध है। इसके साथ साथ सोलार के बारे में बहुत सारे ऐसे ऑनलाइन एजुकेशनल मटेरियल्स उपलब्ध हैं। हम दल नेताओं के रूप में शॉर्ट जो कार्यक्रम है उसमें जो रिचार्ज करने वाली छोटे चीजों को बनाना या खेलने के लिए जो खिलौने सोलार पैनल के साथ बनाना आदि कार्य हम कर ही सकते हैं। इसके साथ दूर दराज इलाकों में जहां हमेशा आपदा की स्थिति उत्पन्न होती है उन इलाकों में जो हमारे दल स्कूल और समाज में कार्य कर रहे हैं उनसे मेरा विशेष अनुरोध है स्काउट गो सोलार के अंतर्गत अपने विद्यालयों और आपके समाज के सामाजिक जगह जे प्रार्थना का स्थल हो सकता है, लाइब्रेरी हो सकता है, वहां के लिए आप सोलार युक्त कुछ ऐसे लाइटिंग या जो रिचार्जिंग की कुछ संयंत्र बनाएं और स्काउटिंग और अपने समाज की तरक्की में काम करें। सभी को पुनः धन्यवाद। भारत स्काउट्स एंड गाइड्स की तरफ से पीटर ब्लच, मिस सिन्हा और मिस लव सभी को पुनः धन्यवाद करते हैं। ओवर टू मास्टर सेरेमनी। थैंक यू।
It's wonderful in the translation, sir. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to welcome to Mr. Amar Chetri, sir, Deputy Director, Voice Program of Bharat Scouts and Guide, for vote of thanks. Sir, now it's your scheme.
Thank you, Arnab. It's not the privilege of Deputy Director, Bharat Scouts and Guides. It is the privilege of Deputy International Commissioner Scout of Bharat Scouts and Guides to offer vote of thanks. So I would like to request our Honorable Deputy International Commissioner Scout, Mr. Madhusudan Avala, to offer vote of thanks to our guest speakers. Madhu, sir. Madhu, sir. Mr. Madhuji. Okay, you might be having technical problem. So on behalf of our Honorable Chief National Commissioner, Dr. K.K. Khandelwal, and on behalf of all the professionals of the Bharat Scouts and Guides National Association, we are very grateful to Mr. Peter Blatch, the member of the World Scout Committee. Thank you so much, sir. At the 11th hour, you have accepted our invitation to deliver the very important session on diversity and inclusion. Friends, I would like to share here, Mr. Peter Blige has undergone leader trainer course from the Bharat Scouts and Guides from our National Training Center, Pachmadi.
Yes. Thank
So
you.
this is a proud moment for all of us. And he is not a new face to Bharat Scouts and Guides. Mr. Peter Blige was in the resource team when the Bharat Scouts and Guides have organized the third Messenger of Peace APR NSO coordinators meet, which was hosted by Dr. Khandalwal in Faridabad, India. So he was there during that period. And Mr. Peter Blige also has done the monitoring of the Messenger of Peace of the Bharat Scouts and Guides. So we are very grateful to you, sir. And you as a Messenger of Peace, the whole Messenger of Peace team India are working day and night to organize this webinar. And we were really fortunate to have you this morning, despite of your hectic schedule, we know. So thank you so much for your lively session. And definitely the Bharat Scouts and Guides will follow all the inputs you have delivered this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our words will fail to express our deep sense of appreciation and gratitude to Ms. Lau Huilin, the expert resource on Scouts Gosola from Scout Association of Malaysia. Thank you so much, Lau, for your presence this morning, delivered the input, and definitely our viewers were much interested to know this new topic on Scouts Gosola. We are very thankful to you for accepting our invitation and your presence this morning for the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
to
sir.
express our sincere gratitude to Cynthia Markaj, our senior manager on educational initiatives and Messenger of Peace Global Support Center, Kuala Lumpur. She is regularly with the Bharat Scouts and Guides and supporting the webinar. So thank you, Cynthia ma'am, for your active support to the Bharat Scouts and Guides, and you are regularly supporting. And I would like to inform our all the guest speakers. Definitely, the Better World Framework will create a milestone and will impact scouting in the organization. Thank you so much. My deep sense of appreciation to all the panel who are working day and night. The MC of today's webinar, Mr. Arnab from Tripura State. Tripura is one corner of the India, and today he has come out with the role of MC. This created impact, you can say, to the community. Thank you, Arnab, for your wonderful
Thank you so much, sir.
MC and all the supporting staff from all the states, as well as our assistant directors from the regional offices. And last but not the least, it will be fault on my part if I fail to express my deep sense of gratitude to our boss, the director of Bharat Scout and Guides, under whose leadership this webinar is being organized. Despite of his hectic schedule in his administrative related matters in the office, he is putting his both the ears in the webinar during the whole delivery of the sessions. And this is his initiative that today we have come to minus day 1 to conclude this webinar. Thank you so much for your support, and definitely Team Messenger of Peace will create impact of all the WOSM initiatives in the Bharat Scouts and Guides up to the grassroots. Thank you so much. So I would like to thank all our staff as well as professionals, which includes our executive director for his wonderful conclusion in Hindi, translation of both the topics. to make it more clear to our viewers as well as the participants. I would also like to thank our Deputy IC Scout, Mr. Madhusudan Avala, for guiding us during this seminar. Thank you so much. And after this, we'll have a meeting of all the panelists. And I would like to hand over now to Mr. Anlendra Sharma, Assistant Director, Northeast Region, who is coordinating the whole webinar. Mr. Anlendra Sharma.
Mr. Amar, just I'm interfering. Just for the information of all our BHG India participants, one thing I want to add about Mr. Peter. Mr. Peter is not only a member of the World Scout Committee, as well as I think he is a member of MOP committee also. And the BHG India is getting full support from Mr. Peter. And all of you will be very happy to know that already the MOU is going to be signed finally with the WOJM about the membership growth fund project, in which we are expecting about more than 50 million amount from the WOJM, and the credit also goes to Mr. Peter for supporting us for this project. Thank you very much, especially on the behalf of BHG India, Mr. Peter, for that.
Thank you, sir. So let us give a virtual clap to Mr. Peter. Claps go. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Lau. Thank you, Cynthia, for your wonderful sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amar sir.
Expect your same support and cooperation in future too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amar sir. Now I hand it over to our great leader of Northeast region, Sri Anlendra Sharma sir. Sir, now is your skin is yours.
Thank you, Arnab. All the resource speakers and dignitaries present here. We are really thankful to all of you. And on behalf of Paramatsma Day, we are really thankful. And I hope that the last one more day is there tomorrow. So same cooperation will get from all the delegates. I request all the delegates come and join the webinar by 10 tomorrow. Tomorrow we have interesting topic. Storytelling is going to lead by Luz from Director APR. And we have the closing ceremony where we are expecting our Secretary General of WOJM. So I request all the delegates from different states to come and join with us. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the dignitaries. Thank you, Peter sir, Luz, and all our resource speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Once again, thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Lau.
To join the webinar. Thank you, sir.
Anil, I feel this we can have separate meeting for the all the our technical team.
Afterwards, sir.
अभी ये मीटिंग को यहीं क्लोज करके और टेक्निकल टीम का मीटिंग का लिंक सेपरेट